Hi guys, Brittany here from By Brittany Goldwyn. I post videos about plants and projects, and today we are talking about how to propagate basil from a cutting. Basil is one of the easiest herbs to propagate. It propagates pretty much without you doing anything to it other than throwing it in a glass of water and waiting. It grows roots all up and down its stem, so you don't have to worry about getting a specific growth point or node on the plant, and you can make it so that you never have to buy basil again as long as you get one plant. So let's talk about how to take a cutting. So I mentioned that you don't have to take a cutting from anywhere specific on the plant. This is an example of a cutting I just took from one of my indoor basil plants. You can see it has a bottom set of leaves here and then a top set of leaves. So what I'm going to do to ensure that this cutting has enough of a stem to sit down in the water is I'm going to gently remove these two big leaves. Then I'm going to eat them. And then I'm also going to gently remove the tiny little plantlets that were on it as well. And then the next step is to just take your basil cutting and put it in some water. So I'm going to let this basil cutting sit in water on my kitchen windowsill. You can set it anywhere that gets bright indirect light. Make sure you monitor the water levels so that it doesn't completely evaporate and so that you're refreshing the water every couple days. I would recommend just dumping out what's in here and putting fresh water in, and then we'll jump to the future and I will give you an update on how the root process is looking. Hey guys, it has been exactly 16 days before putting this cutting in water, and the root development is looking really, really good. So I would say this one started sprouting new roots probably about 13 to 14 days after first putting it in water. Now, as a reminder, it is the middle of winter here in Maryland Zone 7A, so not the most ideal time to propagate plants. I would say that it would probably root much faster than 13 or 14 days if it's in ideal growing conditions, so a little bit warmer, a little bit more light because the days are longer. But if you are getting frustrated because you haven't seen any roots sprouting on your basil cutting, give it several weeks before giving up. Unless the cutting is starting to turn black and rot, it's likely that one day you will just go to check it and see that the roots have just like exploded all at once. That is what I noticed with this cutting. Every day I check it, nothing, nothing, nothing. And then one morning it was just filled with roots all the way down the stem. So the next step, once you have your roots about an inch or so long, I usually don't wait any longer than that, is to transfer the cutting to soil. So you can use any sort of well-draining potting soil to plant up your cutting. I have a little plastic cup here with drainage holes in the bottom that I have already pre-filled with a well-draining potting soil. Now I'm potting mine here in the sink because it is, again, the middle of winter and very cold outside. But when I do have to pot in the sink, I like to put a little towel down over the drain just to prevent too much excess soil from going down the drain. Then I can just take the towel outside and shake it to get rid of all of the extra soil that I've spilled. So just want to pack it in gently here around the cutting. And there we go. So since there is no nutrient quality to the water you were rooting your cutting in, unless of course you added nutrients, which I did not, putting your cutting in soil and watering it generously is going to begin giving that cutting access to the nutrients in the soil it needs to begin growing. So that, in a nutshell, is how you propagate a basil plant from a stem cutting. It's a pretty easy process. I love doing it when I'm pruning up my basil plants to prevent them from going to seed so that I can grow more and more basil plants and never have to buy it again. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments. Otherwise, happy planting.